Welcome to Cozy English Corner. I'm looking out the window at the heavy, gray snow melting into slush here in Columbus, Ohio. It is the kind of late winter afternoon that forces you to stay inside and think about the past.
It really is, Alex. Midwestern winters have a very specific way of making us quiet. I am Alara, and as a grief and transition counselor right here in the city, I spend a lot of these gray days listening to people talk about their pasts.
I am so glad you are here, Alara. Today, we are exploring two very specific expressions in English, wish and if only. Usually, people treat this as a simple grammar lesson, but we are not going to do that.
No, because these words carry the heaviest human emotions. When my clients sit on my couch, they do not just practice vocabulary. They use these words to process deep regret, lost time, and the silent pain of marriages that are falling apart.
That is exactly what I want to talk about, the pain we usually leave undiscussed. For example, people do not just wish for a new car. They lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, terrified of the credit card debt they have hidden from their family.
Exactly. They think, if only I had not opened that second credit card. Or consider the physical reality of aging. People feel a sudden ache in their knees and think, I wish I had taken better care of my body when I was 20.
To express those deep fears correctly in English, we need to understand the structural difference. Let us establish the foundation first. What is the core difference between wish and if only?
The word wish is broad and flexible. You can use it to express a desire about the present, a hope for the future, or a regret about the past. It covers a lot of ground.
So I can say, I wish it would stop snowing here in Ohio, which is about the future. Or, I wish I were rich, which is a present desire. It is a very versatile tool.
Yes, but if only is a specialized tool. It is almost entirely reserved for expressing regret about the past. It focuses entirely on a specific moment or choice that you desperately want to change.
That makes perfect sense. Wish feels like a general blanket of emotion. If only acts like a laser pointer, highlighting the exact second you made a terrible mistake.
That is a beautiful way to describe it. In counseling, when a client says, I wish I had been a better parent, they are expressing general sadness. But when they say, if only I had attended my daughter's graduation, they are pointing at the exact wound.
Let us talk about the grammar of the present first. When we want something to be different right now, we use wish with the past tense. For example, I wish I were taller. Why do we use the past tense for a present reality?
Because you are expressing something that is contrary to reality. You are not taller. The distance in time, using the past tense, reflects the psychological distance from the truth. The language itself creates an alternative reality.
The distance in time reflects the distance from the truth. I like that. It explains why we say, I wish I did not have to work tomorrow. I do have to work, so I use the past tense did not to show it is a fantasy.
Precisely. And notice we use were instead of was in standard formal English. I wish I were completely out of debt. Even if the subject is I or he, we use were to signal this is an unreal situation.
Now let us move to the heaviest part of this topic, regret about the past, the things we cannot change. How does the grammar shift when we look backwards?
When we express regret about the past, we must push the grammar back one more step. We use the past perfect tense, so it becomes, I wish I had known, or if only I had spoken up.
So we use had plus the past participle of the verb. It is a common mistake for English learners to say, I wish I knew that yesterday. It should be, I wish I had known that yesterday.
Yes. And if only I had known is perhaps the most painful phrase in the English language. I had a client recently. Her mother passed away suddenly. She sat in my office and kept repeating, if only I had answered the phone that night.
That is heartbreaking, and there is no way to fix it. The grammar itself, the past perfect tense, locks the action in the past. It emphasizes that the door is closed permanently.
Exactly. But there is a fascinating psychological element to this, Alex. Have you ever heard of the concept called upward counterfactual thinking?
I have not. What does that mean? It sounds like a technical term for exactly what we are discussing.
It is. Neurological studies show that when we say, if only I had, our brain creates a simulation of a better past. We imagine the alternative reality where we did not make the mistake.
Wait, really? So the brain is actually trying to solve a puzzle that has already ended? That sounds like a recipe for endless anxiety.
It causes immense, immediate pain, yes, but scientists believe it is an evolutionary survival mechanism. By intensely simulating how we could have avoided a failure in the past, our brain rewires itself so we do not repeat the mistake in the future.
That is incredible. So when we use the grammar of if only, we are quite literally programming our minds for future survival. It is not just sadness, it is a learning mechanism.
Exactly. The grammar is the vehicle for human evolution. This happens a lot with career regrets, especially in places with shifting economies like here in the Midwest.
I see that constantly. Columbus is growing fast, but there are still many people working corporate jobs they secretly despise. They chased stability instead of passion.
Yes, a client in his 50s told me last week, I wish I had taken the risk to start my own business when I was 30. If only I had trusted myself more. The word wish conveyed his general disappointment, but if only I had trusted myself isolated the root of his pain, fear.
It is remarkable how precise English can be. Let us talk about another structure that confuses learners. What if the regret involves someone else's actions? Can I say, I wish you had not done that?
Yes, absolutely. The structure remains the same. I wish, followed by the subject, and then the past perfect tense. I wish you had not lied to me. It expresses regret, but it also carries a sense of betrayal.
And what about using if only for someone else? If only he had driven slower that night. That shifts the blame, does it not?
It does. It places the entire tragedy on a single pivot point. If only he had driven slower implies that one minor adjustment in speed would have saved a life. It is devastatingly specific.
Let us shift to how this applies to everyday relationships. We all know the stereotype of Midwestern friendliness. We smile, we are polite, and we often avoid direct conflict. But that avoidance leads to a lot of unspoken words.
Oh, entirely. We smile at the grocery store, but we harbor silent resentments at home. And then, when a conflict finally explodes, saying, I am sorry, is not enough to fix the damage.
That is a brilliant point. I am sorry feels very transactional. It is what you say when you bump into someone at a coffee shop. It does not carry the weight required to heal a deep wound.
Exactly. If you forget a significant anniversary, or if you break a deep trust, sorry is hollow. You need to use the grammar of vulnerability. You need to look the person in the eye and say, if only I had listened to you when you told me you were hurting.
Because using if only I had listened proves that you are engaging in that counterfactual thinking we discussed. It proves to the other person that you are actively processing your failure.
Yes! When people hear you use wish and if only correctly in a moment of apology, they feel genuine emotion. They sense that you are not just checking a box to end the argument. You are sitting in the uncomfortable reality of your mistake.
I want to highlight a mechanical issue that often trips up non-native speakers. Sometimes we need to use the word had twice. I wish I had had more time. It sounds strange, but it is grammatically perfect.
It does sound repetitive, but it is necessary. The first had is the auxiliary verb for the past perfect tense. The second had is the main verb, meaning possession. So, I wish I had had more time with my father is absolutely correct and profoundly moving.
What about using these structures for negative actions? For example, doing something you deeply regret. I imagine the contraction had not or hadn't becomes very useful here.
Extremely useful. I wish I had not sent that email. Or more severely, if only I had not walked away when you needed me. The negative form often carries a sharper sting of guilt.
Let us summarize the time frames to ensure our listeners have a solid grasp. For a future desire, how do we use wish?
For the future, we use wish followed by would or could. For example, I wish the snow would melt, or I wish I could travel next month. It indicates hope, but acknowledges the outcome is difficult or out of your control.
And for a present desire, something contrary to reality right now?
We use the past tense. I wish I had a better job, or I wish I were more patient.
And finally, for past regrets?
We use the past perfect tense. I wish I had saved more money, or the much stronger alternative, if only I had saved more money. Both address a past that cannot be rewritten.
I want to touch upon the cultural aspect of regret. In many cultures, talking about regret is seen as a weakness. People are encouraged to always look forward. Do you find that is true in your practice here in the US?
Absolutely. There is a toxic positivity in American culture, especially the hustle culture that tells us to ignore failure and just keep moving. But avoiding regret is dangerous. It means you never process the lesson.
That makes perfect sense. If you never permit yourself to say, I wish I had approached that differently, you are destined to repeat the exact same behavioral pattern.
Yes. Acknowledging regret is actually a sign of emotional maturity. When someone tells me, if only I had controlled my temper yesterday, I do not see a weak person. I see someone who is brave enough to look at their own flaws.
That is a powerful reframe. So, learning this grammar is not just about passing an English test. It is about equipping yourself with the tools for self-reflection and personal growth.
Exactly. You are learning to express your soul. You cannot build deep connections with other human beings if you do not know how to express your vulnerabilities.
Let us give our listeners a practical challenge. What is an exercise they can do today to master these expressions, not just intellectually, but emotionally?
Challenge everyone listening to write a short letter to someone they regret hurting. You do not have to send it, but write it down. Start a sentence with, I wish I had, and another with, if only I had.
Writing it down makes it real. It forces you to choose the exact words, to confront the grammar of your past mistakes. That is profound advice, Alara.
The practice itself is transformative. When you physically write, if only I had been more patient, you are allowing your brain to process that closure. You are turning raw pain into structured language.
Turning raw pain into structured language. That is the perfect summary of what we do here. Language is a tool for human connection, both with others and with ourselves.
I completely agree. And once you master these specific phrases, you will find that people respond to you differently. They recognize authenticity when they hear it.
Alara, thank you for joining me today. Your perspective as a counselor brought a depth to this grammar lesson that we rarely get to explore. Even the gray Columbus weather feels a bit more meaningful now.
It was my pleasure, Alex. Remember, expressing regret is not a weakness. It is the clearest sign that you are committed to doing better tomorrow.
To everyone listening, keep reflecting and keep growing. Do not run away from your mistakes. Use the grammar of the heart to process them. Take care, and we will see you in the next episode.